From the moment I saw my first Star Wars title crawl, accompanied by that epic John Williams score, I was hooked. I completely fell in love with the franchise, and my childhood was heavily defined by my fandom of Star Wars. From pretending to fight battle droids to debating random versus battles with friends, I've been an active fan through and through. But I grew up with the prequel trilogy, and I didn't watch episodes 4 through 6 until I was a teenager. In fact, I didn't even know they existed for the longest time. To me, the prequels were Star Wars, and upon first watch, I didn't even like the originals. I know, that's scandalous to say, but as a young teen who hadn't yet developed a deep love and appreciation for film, I was honestly underwhelmed. But many years and numerous rewatches later, boy was I wrong. Not only is the original trilogy easily the best of the franchise, it is one of the best trilogies in all of film. While not initially planned to be a trilogy right off the bat, episodes 4 through 6 operate in conjunction with one another to tell a beautiful story. A New Hope gives us a classic underdog story of a young moisture farmer who feels like he's destined for more, who finally achieves it by striking a devastating blow to the Empire. Empire Strikes Back gives us the ramifications of these actions in a much darker film that ends with Han Solo frozen in carbonite, Luke with a hand severed, and the epic reveal that our main antagonist is actually Luke's father. Return of the Jedi then closes out the story with Luke refuting the dark side and the unlikely but extremely satisfying redemption of Darth Vader. The main complaint I had of the original trilogy upon first viewing was that the action was lackluster, and by action I mean lightsaber fights. Now, in comparison to the Darth Maul fight or even the Anakin versus Obi-Wan clash from the prequel trilogy, the fights are much slower and more clunky. However, the thematic story behind each lightsaber clash is brilliant. The Darth Vader and Old Ben Kenobi clash in A New Hope may visually look like two old geezers poking light sticks at each other, but if you pay attention to the dialogue, there's so much more to it. I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Your powers are weak, old man. You shouldn't have come back. This dialogue gives us just enough to know that there's history between these two characters and that Vader is carrying some kind of vendetta against Kenobi. Even ignoring future installments, which explain their relationship further, this scene gives us just enough to understand that Vader is likely toying with Kenobi, as he's been waiting for the clash for a long time, and wants to savor his victory. When Obi-Wan allows himself to be cut down, it serves as an emotional gut punch to Luke, the man who finally showed him he could be more than just a moisture farmer, struck down right before his eyes. In the context of a trilogy as a whole, this also gives us a glimpse into Luke's rage. This rage serves as the focal point of the clash between Luke and Vader in the next installment. Rather than continuing to train with Yoda and slowly building his skills over time, Luke opts to give in to his fear and anger and attempts to battle Vader head on. While a good chunk of this fight is just furniture being thrown at Luke, it is purposefully done this way. Vader is toying with Luke. He wants his son to give in to anger and fall prey to the dark side. He's killed Luke's mentor figure, he's put Luke's friends in danger, and now he's taunting him. While not flashy, thematically this fight is exactly what it should be considering the skill level and motivation of both characters. Return of the Jedi gives us a similar dynamic in its climactic lightsaber duel, but it adds more complexity. This time around, Luke has resolved himself to bring his father back to the light, because while Vader can sense anger or darkness in Luke, Luke can sense the good that's still in his father. In their dialogue before entering the throne room, Vader tells his son, "You don't know the power of the dark side," and "It is too late for me, son." This dialogue is the first chink we see in Vader's armor in the entire trilogy. It sounds like he's almost trapped against his will by the power of the darkness he's succumbed to. We then get to finally see the human embodiment of the dark side in the Emperor. The Emperor is an excellent addition to this dynamic as he is full, unadulterated evil. And by having a character that's so unredeemable, it further highlights that Vader may actually still have some light in him by comparison. The triumphant moment when Luke throws his blade to the ground and tells the Emperor he'll never join him because he's a Jedi like his father before him, that moment gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. Despite the fact that the dueling is still fairly rudimentary, I'd actually argue this is by far the most emotionally engaging film in the franchise, and when Vader finally throws the Emperor into the reactor, it's so satisfying because the protagonist has finally won. Not through brute force, but because he chose to refute the dark side and to believe in his father, when no one else would have. And with his dying breath, one of the most iconic and badass characters in all of cinema confirms when he says to Luke, "You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right." On the surface, this trilogy may seem to be simply built upon a rudimentary concept of good versus evil, but is more complex than just the dark side versus the light. The struggle is more complex because we see a lot of gray area in the saga. The Jedi don't always act righteous. We see Luke give in to his anger multiple times. We see Obi-Wan hide the fact that Vader is Luke's father. And we see that the Sith are not incapable of good, as Vader puts an end to the Empire and Luke's suffering with his betrayal of the Emperor, sacrificing himself in the process. This is a huge reason that, despite being a bombastic sci-fi epic, this trilogy is beloved by so many, as the message that you can rise above your mistakes and past decisions, no matter how heinous they might be, will always resonate with audiences. Give them awesome space battles, quotable dialogue, and memorable characters on top of that, and now you're cooking with some fire. I know I haven't touched too much upon the side characters and co-leads, but what is there to say? It's perhaps the strongest cast of characters in any franchise. You have the fearless and witty Princess Leia, the charismatic scoundrel turned brave resistance leader in Han Solo, the cowardly but lovable C-3PO, the Swiss Army knife of the group who, despite not being able to speak, manages to steal multiple scenes in R2-D2, and everyone's favorite Fuzzball, who somehow manages to be adorable and intimidating at the same time. This excellent group of well-rounded characters, in conjunction with the strong thematic stories, truly come together to create a timeless saga. All in all, despite being the oldest Star Wars content out there, the original trilogy manages to remain the best Star Wars has to offer because of how well crafted and intricate its storytelling is, both as singular films and in unison as a trilogy. Thank you for watching this breakdown of the original trilogy. If you enjoyed it and are interested in further explorations of screen stories, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe.